At 60, she walks with stories folded inside her chest. Stories heavy enough to break 1,000 hearts. If they were ever spoken aloud, she does not announce her pain. She carries it, the way the earth carries graves, quietly, respectfully, without asking the sky for mercy. People see an old woman. They see slow steps, tired eyes, hands that shake when winter comes. But they do not see the nights she survived without sleep, the days she lived without being chosen, the years she spent giving love to people who never learned how to hold it. Her wrinkles are not signs of age. They are sentences written by endurance. Each line on her face is a memory that refused to kill her. She remembers everything. The first time trust betrayed her. The first goodbye that never explained itself. The love she gave that returned as silence. And still, she did not turn bitter. Still, she did not curse the world. She learned early that pain grows louder when you fight it. So she learned to sit with it, to breathe beside it, to carry it like a child who refuses to be abandoned. Her heart has been broken more times than she can count, but it never stopped beating for others. That is the tragedy and the miracle of her soul. She loved deeply. That was her crime. She trusted fully. That was her mistake. She stayed loyal. That was her punishment. Life did not go easy on her. It stripped her dreams slowly, took her youth without apology, and left her holding memories instead of promises. Yet she stands, not proudly, not loudly, but firmly. Her strength is not visible. It lives behind her eyes, in the way she listens more than she speaks, in the way she forgives without being asked, in the way she still believes kindness matters, even when life proved otherwise. At 60, her heart remembers pains that never aged. Heartbreak does not grow old. It stays young, sharp, alive. Some nights, she presses her palm against her chest, as if to calm a heart that still reacts to memories like they happened yesterday. She has buried dreams, but not hope. She has lost people, but not faith. She has been forgotten, but she never forgot how to love. And that is why her story could break 1,000 hearts, because it is not a story of weakness. It is a story of survival, without applause. She does not need the world to understand her. She has already made peace with being unseen. At 60, she carries stories, not to be heard, but to be honored. Stories of a woman who lived gently in a world that was never gentle to her. She learned early that the world does not pause when a woman breaks. So she broke in silence, stitched herself together at dawn, and walked back into life as if nothing had happened. At 60, her heart has learned how to bleed quietly. It does not scream anymore. It does not beg for relief. It simply aches, patiently, endlessly, like an old wound that learned how to live without healing. She remembers nights when loneliness sat beside her, like an unwanted guest. Nights when memories refused to sleep, when the past knocked again and again on doors she had locked with prayer. She remembers waiting for love to return, waiting for apologies that never came, waiting for someone to choose her the way she chose them. Every single time, her waiting grew old with her. It learned how to sit quietly, how to lower its expectations, how to survive without answers. She gave her youth to responsibilities that never thanked her. She gave her softness to people who mistook it for weakness. She gave her loyalty to hearts that never learned how to stay. And still, she does not hate. Still, she does not regret loving. Because somewhere along the way, she understood something sacred. That love is never wasted. Even when it is not returned. It shapes the soul. It deepens the heart. It teaches endurance. No book ever could. Her hands shake now. But once they were steady. While holding others together. Her back bends slightly. But once it carried burdens that would have crushed younger souls. Time has softened her voice, but sharpened her wisdom. She speaks less, because she knows not everyone deserves access to her truth. At 60, she has outlived illusions. She no longer believes that happiness comes loudly. She no longer trusts promises that arrive too easily. She believes in actions, in consistency, in God. Her prayers are no longer desperate. They are calm, grateful, heavy with acceptance. She no longer asks for a painless life, only for the strength to carry pain with dignity. Sometimes she wonders how many versions of herself she has buried over the years. The girl who hoped, the woman who waited, the soul that trusted too much. They all live inside her still. Quiet, tired, but alive. And that is why her stories could break 1,000 hearts. Because they were never meant to be survived by one woman alone. Yet she survived them anyway. She survived without becoming cruel, without closing her heart, without letting the world turn her into what hurt her. At 60, her pain has matured, but her love remains young, still believing, still forgiving, still choosing gentleness in a world that rewards hardness. She walks slowly now, but her soul has already traveled through storms, through loss, through abandonment, and returned with wisdom instead of bitterness. And if the world ever listened closely, it would hear that her silence is not emptiness. It is a library of stories that could break 1,000 hearts, simply because they were carried by one. Time passed through her, like a slow river, touching her body, but never reaching the deepest chambers of her heart. At 60, her wounds are older than her wrinkles, and her memories are sharper than mirrors. She remembers things the way the earth remembers storms, not with noise, but with scars. She learned to smile without inviting questions. She learned to listen without expecting understanding. She learned that silence is sometimes the only place where pain feels safe. Her days are simple now. Tea that cools too quickly. Windows that frame the same sky. Footsteps that echo longer than conversations ever did. But inside her, nothing is simple. Every quiet moment opens a door to the past. A voice, a name, a promise that once sounded eternal. She remembers loving as if it were worship. She remembers trusting as if the world were honest. She remembers giving until there was nothing left except faith and the strength to stand again. People think she is calm because the storms no longer show. They don't know. The storms learn to live inside her, to move quietly, to destroy nothing outward, while shaking everything within. She has forgiven more than she was asked to. She has endured more than she should have. She has stayed soft in a life that tried relentlessly to harden her. Her heart still reacts to certain memories, not loudly, but deeply, like old pain that doesn't scream anymore, only breathes. At 60, she no longer chases happiness. She seeks peace. A peace that understands her scars and doesn't ask her to explain them. She has learned that healing does not mean forgetting. It means remembering without bleeding. And some days, even that feels like courage. Age taught her how to move gently through the world, as if every step might disturb a memory resting just beneath the surface. At 60, she no longer argues with fate. She listens to it. She understands that some answers arrive as silence, and some lessons arrive as loss. Her nights are longer now, not because darkness lasts, but because memories wake easily. They sit beside her, like old friends who never learned when to leave. She remembers faces that time erased from the world, but not from her heart. Voices that softened her once, then vanished. Hands that promised safety, then released her without explanation. She has learned that closure is a luxury not everyone receives. So she closed her wounds herself, with prayer, with patience, with a quiet strength that grows when no one comes to save you. Her body slows, but her soul keeps moving. It walks through decades, in a single breath, touching moments that shaped her forever. She has become careful with her emotions, not guarded, just wise. She knows now that not everyone deserves access to her pain. She still gives love, but differently. Not to be chosen, not to be seen, but because love is the only language her heart ever learned fluently. Some days, she wonders what her life might have been if love had stayed, if promises had kept their word, if loyalty had been returned. Then she lets the thought pass, because dwelling there only opens doors she worked too hard to close. She carries faith the way others carry photographs, close, worn, creased by years of holding on. It has never failed her, even when people did. Her kindness has become quiet, almost invisible, but it is deliberate, intentional, powerful in its restraint. At 60, she understands that survival is not loud. It does not announce itself. It simply continues. She has buried versions of herself and learned to mourn without ceremonies. She has healed without witnesses. She has forgiven without receiving apologies. And that is the kind of strength no one teaches you. Her stories remain inside her, not because she is ashamed of them, but because they are sacred. They deserve reverence, not curiosity. If the world ever truly listened, it would bow, not to her age, but to her endurance. At 60, she carries stories that could break 1,000 hearts. Yet she carries them without bitterness, without hatred, without surrender. She carries them with grace. She does not ask the world to understand her anymore. Understanding is a gift she stopped expecting the day she learned how heavy hope can become. At 60, she walks with a softness that hides steel beneath it, not because she is weak, but because she has learned that gentleness is the final form of power. Her mornings begin with gratitude, not because life was kind, but because she survived what was not. Every sunrise feels earned. She no longer counts what she lost. She counts what remained. Her dignity, her faith, her ability to love without turning bitter. Time has taken much from her, yet it could not take the warmth in her prayers, the mercy in her eyes, or the quiet courage that steadies her breath. She knows now that love does not always arrive to stay. Sometimes it comes only to teach you how strong your heart can be. When it breaks, she forgives slowly, but completely, not to free others, to free herself from carrying poison where peace should live. Her laughter is rare, but when it appears, it sounds like rain after a long drought. It reminds the world that joy can return, even to tired soil. She has stopped chasing what never chose her. She has stopped explaining pain to people who only listen when it entertains them. Now, she belongs to herself fully. Finally, her wrinkles are not scars. They are maps. Each line leads to a moment she endured, a night she survived, a prayer she whispered when no one else was listening.